In 1994, Shiny Entertainment's Earthworm Jim burst onto the gaming scene. It was released in October that year to stellar reviews, tons of media hype, and an advertising campaign that grabbed people's attention. The Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo were the first two platforms to get it, but there would be 8-bit versions released for the Game Gear and Game Boy soon thereafter. 1995 also brought along a Sega CD release called Earthworm Jim Special Edition. Shiny's aim was to take the much celebrated Genesis content, add new music, voice samples, animations, stages, and basically tighten it up into the best version it could be. Earthworm Jim was already a great game, however, begging the question, was this version even necessary? In this episode, we'll look at the Sega CD release, review it on its own merits, and then answer the question, was it truly a special edition worth your time? There's not much in the way of an in-game story for Earthworm Jim. Our hero Jim happens upon a lost suit that bestows upon him great powers and ability. The problem is that a whole heap of aliens come looking for it, and so starts the adventure. Gameplay is of the platformer run-and-gun mold. Stages are chock full of things to do though, resulting in a rare variety of gameplay that is easily the title's greatest strength. While exploring the various stages, Jim can also climb, jump, shoot, whip, bungee jump, ride rockets in space, ride hamsters, go deep sea diving, save mutant puppies, and helicopter around spike-laden stages. Each area is usually set up around these gameplay variations, meaning as you move throughout the game, you are almost always doing something new and different. Much of the stage layout is quite straightforward, but there are moments where exploration can reward you with additional men or weaponry. Jim's basic offense is an Indiana Jones-like whip attack that doubles as a way to grab hooks and swing to higher levels, as well as a rapid-fire pistol that can be powered up with higher damage plasma shots and heat-seeking rockets. Most of your enemies are small, airborne critters that can easily be gunned down, but there are also bigger, badder guys that must be either avoided, outsmarted, or you must simply run from them. Stages are connected by wormholes where you can collect orbs and earn extra continues. Unfortunately, the diabolical Psycrow, a giant chicken, is trying to stop you every time. Avoiding the asteroids and hitting the boost icons will allow you to beat him to the next stage and you're good to go. If you should lose that race, you'll have to face him in battle. Most of the team that made up Shiny Entertainment were ex-Virgin employees that had worked on games like Aladdin, and those influences can be felt here. Few games at the time could boast the amount of variation in the gameplay this one had, and it all carried over to the Sega CD flawlessly. Thankfully, Shiny also added an entirely new level and adjusted a few others with extended areas. Earthworm Jim was a stellar game on cartridge, and the CD version gives you even more of a good thing. There's also a new password system in place, so you can continue where you left off.
Go! Sharp!
As before, the visuals are very well presented. As good as the animation was before, now it's even better, with Shiny boasting that this special edition has 1,000 new frames of animation. Among the areas to see improvements are the intro, endings, and the various standing and gameplay animations. The cartridge was a winner in this area before, and now it's even better. Much like the gameplay, variety is again a big positive of the visuals. Every world is vastly different than the one before it. New Junk City is a sprawling junk heap with towers of garbage everywhere, while a place like Intestinal Distress has you literally running around inside a digestive tract. There's a great separation between foreground and background layers, giving each area a huge amount of personality. Some stages have nice effects like the wavy water you look through to see the glass tube stage, and the stage that's completely dark except for some cool light transitions that help you navigate. You will need to stop and look around sometimes, as it's not immediately obvious where you need to go next thanks to the crazy layouts. The Pocket Rocket stages are forward-scrolling bonus areas with some nice effects like software sprite scaling for the items you interact with. Overall, it's mainly what you saw before in the cartridge version, there's just more of it, especially the animation. Most people love the way it looks, and I happen to agree with them.
Yippee! Yippee! Yippee!
As you probably can imagine, now that Earthworm Jim is on CD, it has a new soundtrack as well. The Gems-driven cartridge version had been loved by many, but now Tommy Tallarico Studios gives you their take. This section will likely be one of contention with many of you. If you love the original score on the cart, the new stuff here may disappoint you. Conversely, if you didn't think much of the Gems stuff, this one may change your mind. Personally, I'm actually fond of them both, but definitely lean towards the better voice samples on the Sega CD release. They are clearer, and there are more of them. As for the music, I've got a few selections to whet your appetite. There's really no denying the similarities between the Genesis and Sega CD versions of Earthworm Jim. A casual stroll of the two games reveals little difference and may make you wonder if this is just a quick cash-in and the special edition part are just lame add-ons with no real value. Playing through them back to back, I can tell you this: I greatly appreciated the new music, the sound effects, and the voices are much better, and that extra stage is plenty worth a stroll or two. The extra touches in the opening and ending are nice as well. But was it enough? Why doesn't the Sega CD version have more impressive graphics? Maybe some new enemies that scale in and out of the screen? Why are the Pocket Rocket stages not full-blown, full-screen scaling effects similar to what we saw in games like Soulstar? The Sega CD had an additional 68,000 CPU and additional hardware to handle all kinds of sprite manipulation. Where is its usage here? The fact is that while Earthworm Jim was a fantastic game and the Sega CD version is just as good, I can't help but wonder why it isn't better. Does some extra animation, sound samples, and a new stage equate to being worth a $300 add-on? I mean, even the Pocket Rocket stages are nearly identical, which was just primed and ready for something far more impressive. The vast majority of the new animation is mostly contained within the intro, the ending, and the new stage, which means that roughly 95% of this is identical to the cartridge visually during gameplay. The additional rocket weapon is almost a complete non-factor most of the time, and as I said, the sound and music is mostly a matter of opinion and taste. The other factor we need to focus on is the price difference between the two. A complete cartridge version will run you much less than a complete CD version. In that comparison, I can tell you without any doubt or reservation, the cartridge version is a winner and you can live without the CD's extras. Part of me hates to judge it that way, however. You can spend all day convincing yourself it's unworthy based on comparative results, but taken on its own merits, it's still a killer addition to the Sega CD library and deserves to exist as much as any other version of the game. And when compared to those other versions at the time, it is the best way to play any of them. That creates something of a dilemma in the recommendation. I certainly think the Sega CD version is an excellent game and you should play it. When it comes to adding one to your collection today, the cartridge version is the one you want thanks to being so much cheaper. In fact, after some comparisons, I have found that the Sega CD version actually contains less standstill animations compared to the cartridge. On the Genesis, Jim will twirl and play with his gun, animations I have never seen on the Sega CD. Earthworm Jim is a powerfully good 16-bit title. It has a diversity in gameplay and its settings that puts most games to shame at the time and competes well with many of the 32-bit action platformers that would follow it. The Sega CD version, like many games that were released on that platform, is basically the cartridge version with some additions. A sobering reminder that most developers either didn't know what to do with the Sega CD's added abilities, or simply didn't want to spend the money on enhancements for a platform that only had an installed base of a few million. The fact is that in a perfect world, this would have been an entirely new Earthworm Jim experience, with new stages, enemies, and lots of cool Sega CD specific additions, similar to what we saw in the Terminator. With that said, I think it's a huge mistake to just shrug this off as not worth a look. The Sega CD library deserves consideration for the games it did well, and regardless of its similarities to the vanilla Genesis release, it's still a great game. I also would like to remind you that in the years since the original 16-bit release, there have been plenty of other platforms to see a version of this. The Sega CD remains my favorite way to play it regardless, and that's saying something. And I guess that's my parting advice. If you're a big fan of this game, go play it on the Sega CD and enjoy it. I guarantee you won't regret it. If you're new to it, don't let the cartridge scare you away and make you think you're getting an inferior experience. It's not, and it holds its own just fine. More than anything, I recommend you play it somehow. It's a triumph of 16-bit game design, no matter the platform you choose. I'm Sega Lord X, thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.